Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is the Series 7 Guru. I'm coming to you from my studio off grid, getting our kicks on historic Route 66 with our always very special VIP guest. Brian looks like he's having audio problems, though.
Test 1, 2, 3.
No, I can't hear you, Brian. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe log out and log back in. I don't know. It was showing that you muted later. Anyways, we'll get rid of some housekeeping. Then we'll help you with any kind of questions you may have. Tell us what test you're taking, where you're joining us from. We're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Arizona time. Arizona doesn't change its time. So sometimes I'm coming to you at always 5 p.m. Arizona, but sometimes it's Mountain Time, sometimes it's Pacific Time. Just depends what's going on. So you're not alone. You're not alone. We have several communities to help you, cohorts, tribes that you can join. We have a Facebook community called Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. Baby broker is a term of endearment in the securities industry for rookies. And a hat trick is 3 successes in a row. Think SIE 766 or SIE 763 or SIE 663. You get the general idea. If you are looking for another communities, we have our Reddit communities. We have a subreddit for Series 6, R Series 6. We have a subreddit for SIE and for Series 7. Our Series 7, we have a Reddit for NASA exam 63, 65, 66. And we have a subreddit community for 9s, 10s, and 24s. If you are looking for a free supplement to your study materials, I had somebody, Brian, tell me that I tell people they should come to my channel because I keep it clean. Not true. Never said that in my life. What I've said is if you're looking for a free supplement to your paid study materials, you should check out my channel. It's the only completely free supplement for you. I've organized that channel on series playlists. So you find, for example, if you're taking the 65 today, Brian, I said, why don't you start with our 65 podcast series? You know, that first episode we did, Brian, is Who Takes the 65 and Why, I think. I think we have an episode, Who Fails the 65? That's a negative one. But I said, start there. Then there's some lectures and there's some practice tests. So those playlists are in suggested watch order and the videos are in suggested watch order. We have over 2,200 videos. Wow. You don't want to be looking for a needle in a haystack. Brian and I know tonight we're going to get asked and answers questions we've been asked and answered many, many times. They're available and live forever in video format. So if you're looking for a particular thing, go to the channel, use the search bar. You know, if you want to binge, use the series playlist. It's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. But put in accrued interest, our margin, or today dividend payout ratio came up. And all that content will magically appear for you. If you are looking for a paid supplement, not a time to be cheap. If you're looking for a paid supplement, nothing better than a Kaplan Q Bank. You can get the Kaplan Q Bank, depending on your exam, for $50, $60. The Series 7, for example, with my Guru 15 discount code, works all year round on all Kaplan products and services. You know, I got people are posting their special codes that are the same as mine. I think it's funny. It's for Christmas only. I go, it's not Christmas only. You can get that same discount forever. And that's Guru 15, 3,600 questions on the Series 7. I think the Kaplan Q Bank is best in class. You can customize it. You can more quickly identify areas of remediation. So I think a lot of the test prep vendors are on par, some above, some below, but basically on par. But what gives Kaplan, I think, its competitive advantage is that Q Bank. That's a way above par as compared to other Q Banks out there. The other thing is we have in the other box there, I don't know if he'll get his audio fixed or not, but Brian is a master distiller. You know, he is really good at distilling all that information you get from your primary study materials. I just, was shouting some praise to Kaplan, but boy, Chuck Lowenstein, who's the subject matter expert for Kaplan, that damn 65 books keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And so if that's, a problem, why don't you spend $100? Brian has been kind enough to give us a 20% discount on his content all in. It's about $100. That's a video course. Brian only talks about things that you need to know. That's a PDF. That's a practice exam. You can buy that a la carte, but I would suggest going all in what I do. Now, if you win the coaching call, I don't know why I'm not explaining this well. If you win the coaching call tonight, you do not win tutoring at the date and time of your choice. That's not what you win. If you go to deantenneytutoring.setmore.com, you go to the class tab, you'll see coaching call for drawing winners. You just registered. It'll send you the link. I will magically appear and we'll talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. There is nothing for free. Everything on the channel is free. There's no upsells. I don't have channel memberships for sale. I don't have merch. I don't have anything. It's completely free. The booking page is kind of the opposite. There's nothing for free with a couple exceptions. I just told you the coaching call that you may win tonight is free. So if you win that, you go to the Dean Tenney Tutoring. We have a book club. That's what we did last. We just finished 1929. I haven't put up a new title yet. That's free. We do a weekly Q&A jam session there, and that's free. So there are a couple of free things on the booking page, but for the most part, it's for pay. It's a pay thing. All right. Well, let's see. Let's get rid of that and let's see what we got going on, Brian.
Can you hear me yet?
Good evening, Series 66 test takers. Schedule my exam for December 17th. I'd like to know what your Josh, where you're at in your study effort. I think that's doable, but that's pretty aggressive, right? So I know Brian was having problems with his audio, so let's see if he comes back yet. If you think about it, could you give me an audio check in the chat just to make sure I'm talking? Last week I had a delivery come in. I muted the mic to accept the delivery, and I forgot to unmute it. So it was like 20 minutes of me rambling on where nobody could hear me. It's over. Hat trick. Woohoo! We ring the bell for victorious test takers. We also have an adult beverage, a toast. Tonight's toast is, I don't know if you're familiar with Jim Cramer on CNBC, Mad Money. This is his wife's mezcal company. So this was a gift from one of my students. So in your honor, Adam, we're going to pour a little mezcal here. Boom. Cheers to you getting your hat trick done. Ooh, yummy. Another thing we've added, Adam, is a cigar. This is La Gloria Cabana Series R in your honor. Let's cut this puppy. All right. Woo. All right. Woo-hoo. Love that. Oh, Brian's back. Let's see if he's got audio. You got audio?
I certainly hope so.
Still have no audio. Every once in a while. That's right. I'm sorry, Brian. I mean, I don't know if it's worth trying to fix or not. If you keep trying to log in, I'll keep letting you in for sure. All right.
Good luck.
That's a neat trick to remember, though. Yeah, if you don't want to join us, but pretend you want to join us, you could do that trick, right? Adam, congratulations. Kudos. Longtime subscriber, helped me pass the Series 7 3 years ago. Woo! We're coming up, Josh, on our 5-year anniversary. I'll probably do something special. I haven't decided what it's going to be, but it's so nice to see people matriculate over the history of our channel. We've had people who have joined us for the SIE, Series 6 or 7, 63, 65, 66, 9, 10s, 24. So, Josh, thanks so much for being a long-term subscriber. I like that because, Josh, I come into people's life for a reason and a season. The reason is to pass their exams. The season and how long that it takes. Typically not 3 years, but people do come back and get a 66 or a 9 or 10 or 24. So we do have some subscribers. I think we're coming up on 60,000 subscribers. But I get it. People tell me, hey, Dean, I'm leaving because I'm done. I get it. To be honest with you, YouTube doesn't care about subscribers. Their algorithm cares about watch time, and the algorithm is concerned with views. And boy, on that metric, Josh, we're killing it. We got coming up on 9 million views and 2 million watch hours. So, woohoo! I had a hater. I got haters, Josh. Didn't know I had any haters until I got into social media. Probably did. I just didn't know them. And they said that the reason I'm giving a 15% discount on Kaplan products and services, which is 5% more than Michael Weiss's portal, is because I'm trying to give an inducement for tutoring. I said, boy, you are so clueless. I don't need to give any inducement for my tutoring or anything. I mean, I'm completely booked through referrals from victorious test takers. And, then Ken Finnan thinks I make $1,200 a month on the channel. I'm like, oh, you guys are so clueless about what's really going on over here. Warm and sunny in Florida. I love it. I just can't stand the humidity, Josh. That humidity gets me. I can't be at 100 degrees and 100% humidity, but I love Florida. Beautiful. Passed my Series 7. Woohoo! But what should we do first? Now I got too many things going. I got to ring the bell, and then I got to take a drink, and then I got to take a puff on my stogie. I was afraid of that. I should have probably picked a smaller stogie. Hat trick done. All right, there we go. There's our 3 victories. All right, SIE 66, 7 Acolyte. Thank you so much. I always love victorious test takers who come back. It's so good for morale. One of the things that happened with COVID, that's when I started the channel, was I thought, man, am I ever going to get to teach a live class again? And people went home, and it's a lot more or less of a community thing than it used to be. And so hence I had started the channel, the Facebook, the Reddits. You're not alone. And boy, it's so good for morale when victorious test takers like yourself pop in, say hi. Somebody might be struggling and they see somebody else has taken that journey, has matriculated through that journey, is now in the securities industry, taking care of clients, taking care of their family, taking care of themselves. So thank you so much. Passed my Series 10. Woo! Wow. Yeah, I got to tell you, that 10 is a real slog. You should feel really good about that. I think that 10 is up there with the highest NASA hardest exams because it's just so much stuff. So kudos. Did you already get your 9 done? Are you actually officially done, or you got to go circle back for the 9? Past the 63. Oh my goodness. The bell comes from It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart. I'm sure you're going to be able to see it. It's one of those holiday movies that's always there. And Clarence is the angel, and he says that every time a bell rings, that's an angel getting their wings. And so there you go. There's Benita's wings, right? Now you can fly in the securities industry. Yeah, I think Brian's supplements are really, really helpful. Really, really helpful. There you go. He spends a lot of time on debrief. Now, we're not allowed to ask you what question 35 was, but we can say it was something not prepared for. And when Adam is, the correlation is so strong with his practice tests that I tell people the night before and morning of is just to read Brian's practice test and the questions and the right answers just to get the flow going. I'm going to finish his drink, and how many people they passed? Well, good news. I've got the whole bottle here, and I'm off grid. And so I've been giving myself permission to kind of use our Tuesday live streams as my, hey, welcome people, because I'm in the middle of nowhere. Unfortunately, Mom had an accident here. And before we moved from Las Vegas, I told her, Mom, I'm not so sure we should move off grid because she fell on Thanksgiving Day and broke her hip. It's an hour and a half off grid for somebody to come get her and an hour and a half to the hospital. I'm thinking I'm going to buy one of those helicopter passes or something where they come get you, airlift you. Good news. I've been at the hospital the last 6 days, and they pinned her hip and put a rod in there, and hopefully we can get her to rehab here. So this is my first day back home on there. So anyways, that to be said, I'm giving myself permission to really kind of unwind a little bit because 6 days at the hospital is not fun. Testing next week. What is the testable distinction between performance-based accounts and sharing in capital gains? Well, capital gain would be I don't think we would ever say we're going to share in capital gains. So I'm not sure what you mean by that. When we get performance-based compensation, it's not based on the income stream versus capital gains. It's based on performance. So I would like some more information about that. There is no testable distinction. The thing you should be aware of, and I thought this was interesting, came up in social media, Daniel, whether or not the Investment Advisor Act of 1940 specifically says what I'm about to say, or whether the Uniform Securities Act template doesn't specifically say what I'm about to say, it is still a disclosure necessary when receiving performance-based compensation to tell the client that gives me an incentive to take additional risk with their money, right? So that's the test question about performance-based compensation. I know of no testable distinction between performance-based compensation and capital gains. Now, that's a separate issue that you should be able to come, know what total return is and how to calculate performance, that kind of thing. But those are separate issues. If you have a particular, Daniel, question, just send it to me at deanexamprep.com. Screenshot it, and I'll reply and tell you whether it's a test prep vendor going overboard or if it really has any kind of significance. Taking on the 7 on Monday, what is the most important information regarding municipal bonds? So, Alex, what I want you to do is get a sheet of paper and fold it in half. And on one side, I want you to write all the terms associated with GO bonds. And on the other side, all the terms associated with revenue bonds. I thought, Alex, this was interesting, like feasibility study revenue bonds, ad valorem taxes, GOs. Mom's Hospital, Flagstaff Medical Center, the CEO, it's a nonprofit, had a hard time explaining to the residents that there was no taxpayer dollars being used to build a new hospital, that it was a revenue bond. And not only were they not going to have taxpayer funds being used to build this new hospital, but also it was going to add to the economic activity of the community because they're going to build what they're calling a medical village. They bought like 172 acres and they're going to have a couple hotels and things like that. Of the projected cost of $750 million, they already had like $400 million saved up to do this, right? So I thought this is interesting that this guy who's the CEO was not able to articulate to this community that this is a revenue bond backed by user fees, not taxpayer dollars. And so to answer your question, the most important thing for you to be able to do, and you're going to get like 20 questions on munis, is to be able to distinguish between GOs and revenues. All the following are associated with GOs except. They love these kind of questions. All the following are associated with revenues except. I have lots of muni content. I have underwriting munis. I have a muni bond lecture. Lots of muni content for you. Been studying for a month. There you go. I love it. I love it. Well, yeah, that's, Josh, we can't count on there's residual left over that 3 years ago. If you told me you took the 63 like last week, I'd say, okay, well, you probably still have some residual knowledge of the Uniform Securities Act, but I think you're in good shape. Hi, guys. I take my 66 on Thursday. Feel real good. The only thing giving me trouble is prepayment. Can any number under 500 for 6 months? Well, here's the thing, Tyler. You need to think of a prepayment. Like, for example, I don't tutor without prepayment. If you go to book a tutoring session, it's going to tell you that you're prepaying. That is a contingent liability for me, from my perspective, because I've taken your cash, but I haven't delivered that service to you yet. And you, Taylor, are taking the chance when you hit the link, I don't show up, right? So this presents risk to a client because the client is prepaying. Now, a lot of clients used to like to prepay, and I said, I don't have the plumbing for that when I was in practitioner investment advisory side. And the substantial payment means it triggers a disclosure of a balance sheet. I very rarely have any problems with somebody. I said, but listen, I said, hey, Taylor, good news for you. Dean has lots of money, so it's not a problem. I told you, Taylor, about this mom situation. I had a tutoring session booked. Obviously, mom's health is more important than the $375 for the tutoring. I said, I'm just issuing you a refund. Now, the risk you take is that somebody doesn't have the resources to get that refund to you. So the test question about this is not so much substantial prepayment as that it triggers additional disclosures. The main thing would be the balance sheet. Makes sense. You get to see my finances, right? Just to move to an IRA after taking it having to take my 66. Well, 66, Josh, means you're both an agent of a broker dealer and an investment advisor. If you were just working for a registered investment advisor, period, full stop, that's all you're doing, you would only have to take a 65. So there must be an affiliated broker dealer there because 66 doesn't work without a 7. And what it means is you're both an agent of a broker dealer and an investment advisor representative. He has audio. I have audio, Josh, or Brian had audio? You can hear me, I think. I don't think we heard Brian. I didn't hear Brian anyways. Thank you so much, though. I am here in Houston taking the 7 using Kaplan. I test on Friday. I got a 76. You should feel good. I like that. You're testing Friday. This is Tuesday. Rinse and repeat. 76 is where we want you to be. Anything in particular you should focus on? The big things to focus on are section 3, which is investment vehicles. That would be munis, options, and mutual funds. So make sure you just review that. I review customer accounts. That's low-hanging fruit as well. So I think you're in good shape. This is Tuesday. I probably want you to do one more practice test, just to get one more mark. So Tuesday, maybe do another practice exam. If you're testing Friday, maybe tomorrow. You should spend as much time remediating that practice exam as you did doing it. Yeah, I'm not taking enough puffs on my cigar. That's called draw. This cigar. I knew I was going to have a good draw bit. We'll just flame this puppy. Watch your 60-minute rundown today. I love it. And watch the 91 tomorrow. I like it. They're not the same videos. Every once in a while, somebody says they're the same videos. Like, well, obviously you didn't watch them because they're not. So I had all kinds of people. Somebody, Sam today said, is the 7 in 60 minutes still relevant? I said, well, yeah, if it wasn't, I would pull it down. But people wanted me to redo that. And I thought, well, I don't want to do the same video over again. So then I came up with the Mighty 90 series. So I'm now working on a Dirty 30 series. So I'm going to have a whole playlist where you can pick 30, 60, or 90, depending on your timing, or if you want to do them all, that's fine too. So very, very popular. Very, very popular. I noticed Ken Finnan has copied them now with his power hours, which are just basically the same deal. I'm taking the SIE exam on the 18th. I'm scoring consistently around 78 to 88 on Kaplan Simile exams. That's fantastic. Read the full Kaplan book. Oh, Luke, you just warmed my heart. I wish people would read the book. I just posted a short today. Read the full book, RTFP. Also, I've gone through most cubics. You're good. You are good, my friend. You are good. You are following best practices for sure. So I'd be awful surprised you don't make your mark. Please circle back and let us know. 66 tomorrow. Well, John, you should be sleeping. You want to get a good night's rest, particularly on NASA exams, because your reading skills are very important. I don't know about you, but me, when I'm tired, my reading skills are greatly diminished. On NASA exams, it is really important that you read the question once just to feel like, okay, I know what they're asking me. That might mean you have to rephrase it into plain English. And then you got to be careful about reading the full answer set. Right. So I think you're pretty good with those scores. I'd be awful surprised. I'd like to know what you got on the Test Geek practice final, but those scores look great. I think you're not at risk. Got a 78. Okay, there you go. I love it. Yeah, I need some motivation. I don't know what to tell you about that. I mean, a motivation, I think, comes from putting in the work you've done. And I think a clear head is important. So you got to be confident in yourself, John. You got to be confident in the execution of your study plan. There's no reason for you not to be. Most importantly, tomorrow, you got to be confident in your answers, right? So those are the three big ones. 3 years ago. Wow, we got some alumni coming back. Love it. I love it. Cal Link Studios. Well, thanks. We always love victorious test takers coming back, bucking up the newbies. Thursday. What should you focus on? Well, 66 is kind of a challenge because a lot of people deservingly have a pep in their step, having successfully done the 7. And so I would say you don't want to have hubris on that. The two biggest areas on laws and regulations is unethical business practices and disclosures. That's 25 questions. So I would spend some time on unethical business practices and disclosures. Sunlight being the best disinfectant. Surprisingly, some people still struggle with the investment part of that, even though they have their 7. So I would review analytical methods. That's the balance sheet stuff. There's a little more balance sheet stuff on 66 than there is on the 7. That's also in analytical methods. That's also where you find the stuff about present value and future value and internal rates of return. And then the other unit, don't go down any rabbit holes, though. I don't want you to go down any rabbit holes, is performance measures. Total return, current yield, that kind of thing. That would be my recommendation. And again, I'd kind of like to know, like we did with John, what is your practice test scores? You don't have to put your personal business on blast, but yeah, it would be helpful to know where you're at. I think STC is a fine test prep vendor. I got no problems, no issues with STC. My only thing I would tell you about STC, I think STC and Kaplan, I think hit the mark better than most of the other test prep vendors. Notman Marks is good. I think Past Perfect puts you in the weeds a little too much. The only thing I would tell you is be careful because the STC QBank is a little shallower than Kaplan's. And every once in a while, once in a blue moon, Ralphie, we'll have somebody who gets a real good score on their STC and everybody thinks they're going to pass, me included, and then they miss the mark. And almost always that's a function of they've memorized the QBank. And so they don't actually understand the concepts. So I would just be, try and make sure you're disciplining yourself when you're doing your STC practice and green lights and all that, that you're trying not to, you're not going through and go B, B, D, C. I got this one, B. No, we want you to kind of read it and pretend you don't know it already. Well, unfortunately, I did not have a great, wonderful Thanksgiving, but I do have an attitude of gratitude. My mom took a fall on Thanksgiving Day and broke her hip. And so Friday she was in surgery. So I spent 6 days at the hospital. I'm just back home today. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to get her out of the hospital and to rehab it. It just makes you appreciate, your blessings. And I took some heat in social media because I told people, why don't you relax today on Thursday, enjoy the family, the fellowship, the football, and the food. And this guy came back and said, well, these are the few hours that could make a difference. I go, listen, I have never heard any test takers say, I missed my mark because I didn't study on Thanksgiving. If that is the position you put yourself in, that's, a problem. And I said, and listen, hey, listen, you make whatever choice you want to make, my friend. But probably you didn't know I was, sending this post from my mom's hospital room. But, you do whatever you want. But I said, Thanksgiving isn't a fungible day. Study days are fungible. Thanksgiving and family are not fungible. He was a young man. And I thought, I've been blessed. I'm an older man now. And I thought he missed one day may regret. He said, they can do Thanksgiving any year. I go, well, yeah, but you might not have the same mix of people there, my friend. So I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I still did, even with that minor kind of a hiccup, it really reconfirmed. And God bless those hospital workers, man. Who would have thunk it? They were all there working on Thanksgiving. And, I just appreciate them. They were there for the weekend, taking care of mom. So some of us still have to go to work now. That's different than studying for an exam, right? Officially done. Woo! All right. So 9 and 10, sales supervisor in the house, branch office manager. Besides practical question exams, I've taken 5. Well, gee whiz, 85. I don't know. I mean, I think what you're doing is fine. You pass 4 or 5, 2 scores, 85 a week apart. Practice questions and exams. I don't know if you've done the FINRA simulated exam, but please make sure you do that. That one has a really great correlation. So on the FINRA website, there's an SIE practice test. I highly recommend if you haven't done that already. I also have on my channel a whole list of SIE practice exams. One of them is my doppelganger version. So you can watch me do the one on the FINRA website, hit pause, hit play, see how you did versus me, talking about it. And then there's another one where I took their answer sets, because one of the challenges on all these exams is the wrong answers, distractors, or the technique for wrong answers, could be the right answer for different questions. And so the other one I would recommend to you is what I call my doppelganger version, where I took that same exam, kept the answer sets the same, but then I rotated the question. So those would be 2 I'd recommend for you. Going to get that P on 63 tomorrow. Love it. Get some rest. I think, fantastic. Fantastic. Again, don't overthink it, right? Let it come to you. Aim and shoot, point and click. You should have no problem. We'll see Tuesday. We'll ring the bell from you. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'm so confident you're going to make it. I'm going to ring your bell early for you. I'm ringing your bell early. You are welcome. How do I find out my past employment dates for the U4? I don't know, Puddles. I mean, maybe they, I noticed when I got a thing, I think it was called Clear, where you could get on the plane without doing all that. It was amazing to me because they make it easy. You put in your name, give them permission. And they came back with all my addresses and, asked me to confirm my employment. I thought, man, who would have think that's out there in cyberspace? I don't know how you find out your past employment dates for the U4. Check with compliance puddles, but I tell you the main thing is to make sure there's no breaks. So, that's, the most important thing. So check with your compliance or registration department, see what they say. Series 4, NEMA, I know you've been working on this damn thing. 94, you've got it this time, my friend. You have got it. Well, tonight or tomorrow morning, no, I think NEMA, you've done the work. I mean, get a good night's rest. As I said, be confident in the execution of your study plan. Be confident in yourself. And most importantly, tomorrow, be confident in your answers. I would expect, if you'd be kind enough to see you Tuesday and you tell us you made your mark this time. 7 on Friday, 70s, 80s. Love it. Well, third attempt does kind of, get on people's brain housing group. You got to make sure it doesn't make you so anxious that you can't perform, right? So I think you're fine. You already know the stress of this because if you miss it tomorrow, that's a 180-day wait period, right? But I think I would like to know your scores on your first 2 attempts. If you don't want to put your business on blast, I understand, but it would be helpful for me to know what you did the first 2 times in terms of scores. I mean, did you get a good look at the Series 7 Dragon? You know what he looks like when you walk in there tomorrow, or did you get blown out and you're pretending you never took it and you got to start over? So that would be interesting. But last couple of days, make sure you pay attention to the weighting. And so, as I've said, you're going to get 20 questions plus or minus on options, munis, and mutual funds. That's 60 plus questions. So that's where I would spend some time. Make sure you actually, get a handle on options, munis, and mutual funds. I don't know. I have no idea. 7 next Monday. 75s on capital, right where we want you to be. I was in the office, somewhat distracted, but I'd like to build confidence. Well, at least, though, it sounds like Combat Riddler that they're giving you time at work to do practice exams. And even though that may be distracting, there's a lot of test takers that don't even get that opportunity. So I think that's great. What is a good cram plan and some dump sheet tips? I think you want to have your own dump sheet. And so if you Google dump sheets or data dumps or whatever, lots of models will come up for you. But you want to make it your own. And then what I would tell you, the way I think to go about it, Combat Riddler, is if I told you could have one sheet of paper with anything on it, front and back, to take into that exam, what would be on that? And you say, okay, let me design that. And for everybody, that'd be a little different. I know for sure I'd have my options matrix, my teeter-totter. I maybe have some examples of some math questions, whatever would be on there. Now, if every night before you go to bed, you try and flush out your model. So you're going to make that model sheet of paper. I told you one sheet of paper, front and back. If I told you could have anything on it to take in the exam, what would be on it? You make that up. And then the night before you go to bed, you try and do it out and compare it. And you'll be missing some things. And then the morning you do it again, because that's when your brain is the best. Your brain is the best before you go to bed. And when you wake up, it consolidates that information. If you did that morning and evening, by the time you actually got there Monday, this is Tuesday, you could actually do that data dump sheet, right? So that's how I would approach it. And by the way, use the other people's that you can find on Google for your kind of ideas. I wouldn't be putting things on my data dump sheet that, I don't need. For example, I've seen people have like this Mayhammer thing. And to me, that's just more confusing than it's worth. But now, by the way, some people don't do it at all. I think it does have a good effect too, as a placebo. I think when you have a data dump sheet, the clock will be running. But the good thing is it kind of gets your brain kind of going, okay, it's time to take my test. And so that's the other value of doing a data dump sheet. In terms of a cram plan, you're going Monday. If I were your corporate trainer, I'd like to see 2-3 more data points in terms of practice tests. You should be spending as much time on remediation as your practice tests themselves, identifying areas that you can continue to improve on. So I told you 2 or 3, and then I'd continue to lay some base. So that would be my recommendation. Love it. There you go. Okay, so I think you're in good shape. 66 Friday, feeling great. Niche question. Does anything from the 34 Act apply to mutual funds? Well, absolutely. Mutual funds, the fund distributors are FINRA member firms, right? Franklin Templeton Fund Distributors. That is a FINRA member firm, and the people that work there are associated persons who work for the fund distributor. So everything would apply to them as it applies to 34. I don't think it'd be like a thing where I would say, what are the 34 things that apply to mutual funds? But I would know that I think a good way to think about this, Samuel, is 33 and 34. You can get a lot of these questions right by covering up your screen. Are they asking about paper, prospectuses? 33. Are they asking about people and places? 34. Right? So those are both major securities acts. And 34 certainly applies. I think you'll get more, I think, about 33 in the Investment Company Act of 1940, but, trading consultants is implying that it does not. Yeah, well, maybe they're making the distinction, Samuel, about the people who work for the manager, the investment advisor part of the fund. For example, Fidelity Management and Research is an investment advisory firm. They are the investment advisor to the Fidelity funds, and some of those people would have 65s. So maybe that's a distinction. But I'm not a big fan of trading consultants to begin with, but I'm not quite sure what the distinction is. But if you find a practice question, send it my way. I'm more than happy to take a look at it and tell you what I think. I was scared about margin. Yeah, I always tell people, don't overdose on margin. There's only 2 or 3 questions on margin, and you can really overdose. That balance sheets is another area you can overdose, and partnerships. So thanks for confirming that. There you go. Bonds and options. The colloquial thing we used to call the 7 is the stockbroker's exam. And I always thought that was not truth in labeling, because they should call it the bond broker's exam. There is way more questions on bonds than there are stocks. Every day except Thanksgiving. All right. Love it. Yeah, I like simulated exams or media units. Well, I think both. I'm an all of the above. I forget when you said, Josh, you're testing, but I would like you to be doing both. Remediating the questions you're missing by, go doing the reading again, watching a video on that particular topic to dent the reading, or after reading, consolidate it, do some practice questions. But I also think you should still lay some base, continue to lay some more base. So that would be my recommendation. There you go. Series 4. You got this. I'm with you. Let the answers come to you. I love it. Okay, so 68 close. You went a little backwards there, but I think you're fine. I think, that's a good look. I mean, you know what that dragon looks like, so I think you're going to slay him this time. There you go. Woo! Pass. I guess I don't know if that's a historical victory or a recent victory. I love it. I love it. Brian's not here, so I don't have to worry about him giving me a hard time. But Nima, I drive Brian nuts when I tell people that what they should do, Sigma Sloth and Nima, is that you should go into the mirror and look in the mirror and say, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the greatest Series 4 test taker of them all? Nima, Nima, Nima. I want you to do that tonight. I want you to do it tomorrow morning as well. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the greatest Series 4 test taker of them all? Insert your exam for Nima Series 4. Series 4 test taker of them all, Nima, Nima, Nima. Now, I would also do it at break when you're at the exam site. Go in the bathroom, boom. What is the most common reason customer service reps get fired? Puddles, you got some interesting questions. I don't know. I mean, I've seen people get fired for a lot of things. Well, Puddles, here's one. I think the guy could have got fired. He's lucky I didn't get him fired. I was working at this firm, and the corporate trainer was giving me a real hard time. I mean, and giving the test takers that I'm training. There's a cohort. There's like 30 of us that I've been hired to come on this campus and deliver a week-long Series 7 for them. And I said, listen, you got to lighten up. I mean, you're too on top of everybody. Like if I took lunch, I like to take lunch when there's a natural break in the material. So if that's like a quarter to 12, or, it's a quarter after 12, who cares, right? We take an hour, and I usually say an hour by your watch would be an hour by my watch. And, today I'm wearing my Marine Corps t-shirt, and I had some Birkenstocks on, I think. And so anyways, I wasn't looking like a corporate person. He said, well, Dean, as a corporate trainer, I go, listen, the less competent you are, the more formally you ought to be dressed. And he goes, are you talking about me? I go, listen, I said, I remember Marine, you're an Army Green Beret guy, but these people are not. So please let us do our work. Anyways, about Tuesday, Wednesday, we're doing our work, and he discovers that these 30 people are probably all going to pass. It's going to be the cohort they've ever had with 100% pass rate. More about us working than anything else. So it's not like I'm a genius. So now he's trying to kind of get on the bandwagon, so to speak. He's lightening up. Hey, Dean, take lots, whatever. And then I think is his last way to kind of, kiss my ass a little bit. He showed me a celebrity account at that firm. He said, "Oh, Dean, come here, look at this." I thought, "Oh man, what an idiot." I mean, I immediately could have had him fired. The celebrity doesn't think their account is being exposed to, the Series 7 guru, right? So how to get Brian's test? There's a couple ways to get Brian's test. One is to purchase it from Brian at testgeekexamprep.com. It's $20. It's a PDF. People get confused about this all the time. For $20, you get the exam, the answer key, and rationale. That's one way to get the Brian's test. The other way to get it is you can go on my channel. It's in video format. And on every exam, Brian's given me permission to use this content. You can find versions of Brian's practice test for every series where it's just me, and you can hit pause and play and see how you do. But you can sometimes find them where it's me and a student doing it together on a shared screen. So that's how you can get it. You're welcome. My pleasure. I like it. Woohoo! Michael, I like him. I love it, Michael. Cheers. Ooh, if I get too many more testing victories, I might have to reload my mezcal. Looks like we're finally getting a decent draw on this cigar. Study tip to help me that I want to pass on to everyone. For concepts you're struggling, put them on a flashcard or tape it to your bathroom mirror, the one you brush your teeth at. I like that. Twice a day or more. I love it. I have not announced that yet. I try and find a title. We've done Michael Dell's memoir. What a great memoir. Michael Dell, did you see that today? He's giving, what is it, $6 billion? He's going to front $250 for these accounts for the kids, minors. It's going to cost him and his wife, I don't know, $6 billion, I think, or something crazy thing. But we read his memoir, and boy, it was just so fun. I try and find biographies or memoirs, things like that. But one of my favorite things in that book we did was Michael Dell is using JP Morgan as his bank. And they have a legendary banker, JP Morgan. He passed away suddenly. And he was the lead on this financing for this takeover that Michael Dell Computer was going to do. And he said, I liked all the junior team members, but, I was kind of worried about this. I got this meeting. The financing is kind of still not kind of solid in terms of how we're going to pay for this thing. And so he said when he gets there, unbeknownst to him, Jamie Dimon showed up. And Jamie said, "Hey, the tragedy that happened to our guy, I thought I'd join you today if that's okay." And Michael Dell said, "Yeah, sure." So he said they're in the conference room, and the target company says, "Do you have the financing?" And Michael Dell says he was about to go into this thing about, well, we're doing this and we're doing that. We think we're going to have the financing. And he said Jamie Dimon all of a sudden said he's got the financing. Just jumped into the meeting and said he's got the financing. And everybody in the room goes, "Well, hey, if Jamie Dimon says he's got the money, then he's got the money." Man, if you were ever going to try and get Michael Dell's business, we did Invested by Charles Schwab. I think we have some 9s and 10s and 24s in the house. I highly recommend. We did Ricketts, the founder of TD Ameritrade. The harder I work, the luckier I get. We did Schwab's memoir, Invested. Both of those are great for people who are in the business or in principals or sales supervisors. So I haven't found that title. We did She-Wolves. That's about ladies in the securities industry. I was a little disappointed in that one personally because I thought there for sure would be more information about Abigail Johnson and Abigail Johnson of Fidelity and Muriel Sieber got a kind of a cameo. So it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, but still good. So when I find a title, I'll let you know. If you have suggestions, send them to me at dean@guruexamprep.com if you have suggestions for the book club. I try and pick, long story short, I think I rambled there, but what I try and do is pick books that somehow are related to what we do, security. So that means biographies, things like that. I don't typically do how-to books, but I was thinking about doing Kramer's How to Make Money in Any Market, and maybe try and, make it more targeted towards our exams. So there's an idea. I haven't decided, but that was one I was kind of thinking about. SIE tomorrow, practice test coming up, 70, fine. Well, 54 means you're at risk there, Cheshire Cat. So yeah, that's a test question for our 65s and 66. That's called variance. And I am worried about your variance. You have a high standard deviation. So at this point, I would say tomorrow, you just got to go with what you got. As I've said, you got to be confident in yourself and your execution of your study plan. And most importantly, tomorrow, you got to be confident in your answers. The 54 I find troublesome because 54, to go from 70 to 54, that's kind of weird. I know if you're using more than one test prep vendor or what, but if I were a betting person, I think you can do it. I have my SIE tomorrow. Listen, I'm not a miracle worker. I don't have anything tonight that's going to push you over the top. I think what's most important tonight is just to get some rest, review your notes, and then try and be as confident as you can, knowing that we have that problematic 54. If that 54 was missing, I would say you have an 80% probability of passing. That is, when people are below 60, so I'll just comment on below 60 practice test scores and below 60 on actual exams. This is anecdotal. I have no proof for this. But I think when somebody's below 60, it's that they don't know enough to know what question they're being asked, and they don't know what answers are being offered to them. I hit the link for the Zoom session. About 15 minutes in, I said, listen, we need to reschedule this. You haven't laid enough base. You don't know what you're being asked. You don't know what the answers being offered to you are. So you got to lay some more base. And I thought he took it in stride. And then when we got together again, he said, well, Dean, I think I'm halfway there. I go, what's that mean? He says, I still don't know what answers are being offered to me, but I do know now what question I'm being asked. I said, okay, well, we'll take that. So that's where that 54 is a problem for me. By the way, doesn't mean I've had people get 50s and still pass, but boy, you got to have a lot of stars line up. It's just, we want to have a margin of safety. And unfortunately, you do not have that margin of safety tomorrow. So, you just got to go for it. Well, they're different things. The only two types of orders we have are market orders where I want immediate execution at the best available price, market orders, and a limit order where I want to buy or sell at my price or better, period, full stop. The only order that has no contingency or qualifier is a market order. I was talking about mom in the hospital, and I walked into the nearest hotel and I said, I need a room for tonight, maybe a couple nights. They go, well, you haven't asked the rate. I said, it doesn't matter what the rate is. It's a market order. Just give me a room. I don't care what it's going to cost me. I got to be close to the hospital. That's a market order. Now, if I said, hey, I want a room, but $300 or less, that's a limit order. I may or may not get a room, right? So, I think of it as a sporting event, right? If I want to go, I was going to the NBA championship game, and Joe, my friend, said he's going to go for $4,000 or less. And I said, well, Joe, you may or may not be at the game this evening because you're telling me the price is more important than going to the game. He goes, what about you? I said, I don't care what the price is. It doesn't matter. Whatever the price is, I'm going to pay it. I'm more interested in execution than I am price. Limit order, I'm more interested in price. Now, stop is another contingency you can add to an order and say, hey, Dean, I want to stop the loss. We call them stop orders because that's the number one reason to use a stop, is to stop losses. Part of successful investing is letting your flowers bloom, but more importantly, pulling your weeds. So Cheshire Cat, if you said, Dean, buy 1,000 shares of Apple at $275, that's $275,000. I say, okay, where are you going to admit you're wrong? How much are you willing to lose in this transaction? He said, well, approximately $5,000. I said, well, let's put a sell stop at 270. Let's tell our broker that it trades at or through 270, pull the trigger, turn it into a live market order, and send me home. If this, then that. If Apple trades at or through 270, pull the trigger, live market order. And I would lose approximately $5,000, approximately, because we don't know what the next trade is. Now, if you want to be foolish, you could turn that into a stop limit where you say, Dean, when you pull the trigger, I want my price or better. I think that's kind of foolish because the more contingency or qualifiers you add to the order, the less likely it is to get filled. Now, I think tomorrow in your SIE, you might get a very basic type of order question about immediate execution for market orders limit orders, your price are better than this idea of a stop where it trades out or through, then it becomes a live market or limit. Zero math on regarding the 10. There you go. Love it. Ton of questions. That makes sense. Everybody should know you're not supposed to cold call before 9 in the morning or after 8 in the evening, I think is what it is, right? We have to maintain a do not call list. So very tough. So I'm not surprised about that. I think, I don't know if you used my 10 videos, but I think I go overkill on margin. But I'm not sure if I address it and tell you I go overkill, but I probably should reduce some of my 10 and 24 videos because I think I do go overkill. Midway through the 7, scored 83. Fantastic. Oh, my pleasure. It was an honor and a privilege. As you can see, I don't know, can you guys see my Eagle Globe and Anchor over here? I got Eagle Globe and Anchor is the Marine Corps, right? And I got my hoorah sign. So it was my honor and privilege to defend our republic against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. I think you're fine. I think you should be good, right? And midway through the 7, I think you're looking good. You're looking good, music lover. Very few municipal bond questions, which was very odd. Well, every draw is different, but the 10 does recognize you as a muni bond kind of supervisor. So I wouldn't expect a whole bunch of those, but yeah. Tomorrow, get some rest. Had a blow up. Notman Marks has, here comes his word again, some variance. The variance on Notman Marks is in your favor. So I don't know what your score was, but, there's a difference between, taking a Notman Marks and getting a 67 and getting a 58 or getting, whatever. But I would be, if you're in that high 60 range, I think you're okay. Because I think you're going to pick up a few points on the variance between Notman Marks, which is harder than the actual exam. Well, I've been at Schwab, I go way, way back with Schwab. In fact, I had a Schwab ID badge for many years. So I've been on many of those campuses. I have had to talk to them. I feel honored and privileged that my videos are one of the few videos. I had a, weird social media week, I guess, huh? I had a lady who said that I dropped an F-bomb on the Reddit. And, I don't usually do that. And then she said, well, you say people should come to you because you keep it clean. I go, I never said such a thing. Never have I ever said that. What I have said is that people, if they're interested in a supplement, free supplement to their paid study materials, they should check out my channel. And what I said is there's 2,200 videos. None of them have F-bombs or inappropriate sexual innuendo like one of my competitors. So that's what I said. And I always think about Schwab and Fidelity. I think, they're not going to let people watch at work. I feel honored they let people watch my videos at work. And, partly because I'm a professional and we keep it clean. And, you can learn a lot. I've been to headquarters in Westlake. I certainly have. What a beautiful campus. Fidelity, yeah, I've been both. I've been both campuses. There's very few. I've been at every Schwab campus. I've been to Lone Tree, spent a lot of people in Lone Tree. I spent a lot of time in Indianapolis, in Florida. So I've been all over. Same for Vanguard. I was a go-to Vanguard guy for a long time. And I taught for Fidelity. They used to have a division called Spartan. And I was flying to Boston like once a month to teach their classes. And finally I had to say, guys, I'm not your solution to your problem. That was to teach the 9s and 10s for what Fidelity was calling their Spartan division. And, and I was such a road warrior. And now I'm so not. I can't even comprehend doing that again. Right? So I have my 66 second attempt, 11 days, scored 71, 2 points off the mark. I think you're fine. I love it. I don't know what to do freaking out. Well, that's not helpful. That is not helpful. You're 11 days out. So I got a couple recommendations for you. I love that you have the 11 days. So my recommendation would be to stop because you need to take a strategic pause. So tomorrow I want you to take the day off. That's my recommendation. I want you to let your brain lay fallow, just refresh, reset. I don't want you to do another exam on Thursday. So take Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday. So now we're 8 days out. I want you to just try and lay some more base. I don't know if you're working on the weekend. If you are, Saturday morning, take another practice test. I'd be willing you to bet that score will jump at least somewhere between 5 and 9 points, just based on taking tomorrow off, letting your brain will still be working. Take that tomorrow off, do some base work Thursday, Friday. Either watch a video and do the reading, watch a video to put a dent in that reading of whatever you're reading or laying base on, or do the reading and then take a video to consolidate that, do some practice questions on those. That's Thursday, Friday. We take another test Saturday, and I bet you that score will pop. And then you're still what, 8 days out, 7 days out? You still have time to continue to work. So that would be my recommendation for you. I'm glad, though, by the way, that you're having articulating this 11 days out, because what's really, sometimes disconcerting is when people say, I'm testing tomorrow. Well, then you can't take a day off, right? So, Andrew, thank you so much. I love it. I love your avatar there. Good looking young man there. It looks like you know how to tie a tie. Excellent. I would tell you, Andrew, that I'm very excited too that you're joining us from LinkedIn. We've broadcast LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. YouTube is our preferred platform, but I always warms my heart when I see people from LinkedIn. What is your best tip for studying? Well, I have all kinds of videos I made. You can put studying in it and do it, but I kind of hinted at what it is, Andrew. What I want you to do is break your day into study blocks. So let's assume you're a full-time studier. The only thing you're supposed to do is pass your 65. I would want you to have 4 study blocks a day of 90 minutes. So you come to work at 9 to 10:30. You have to take a 30-minute break, mandatory. 11 to 12:30, lunch. 2 to 3:30, 4 to 5:30. That's 6 hours of study time. That's a full day. And then I would like you to rotate your activity. I don't want you reading for 6 hours. First study block, maybe we do reading. Second study block, we watch a video. Third study block, maybe we do some practice questions. I want you to rotate the study blocks. I also want you to rotate the activity and rotate the subject area. So I wouldn't want you to spend 6 hours on disclosures. Maybe we spend 1 block on disclosures, 1 on ethical business practices, 1 on analytical methods, 1 on performance measures. And then once you get through that, you're matriculating through the study material and your study plan. About 7-10 days out, you should do a practice exam and we get those scores, see where you're at. Get a mark. Taking 60 failed by 1. Oh, that happens on the 65 so much. It hurts my heart. Usually that's not a knowledge deficit problem. It's changing answers. It's some other thing. I love it. Stay mentally focused. I've said this. You got to be confident. What they say, fake it till you make it. You got to be confident in your answers. So if you missed it by 1, the first thing I ask people, if you're still here in the chat, say, hey, Dean, that's what I did. First thing I ask somebody is, did you change answers? That is a poor practice. You need to stick with your answers. Okay, well, yeah, but Puddles, just reach out. Nobody thinks you're trying to get over. I would just reach out to your registration department and say, hey, what should I do in this circumstance? I know if you're a larger firm, I'm sure this comes up many times and they have an answer for you. If you're a smaller firm, maybe not. Well, to become a mutual fund manager, that's tough. I mean, a lot of mutual fund managers start out as, on a team and they're helping somebody. So if you want to be a mutual fund manager, I think I would try and get a job at a mutual fund, T. Rowe Price or Fidelity or Franklin Templeton or American Funds on that side of the business. Because I told you there's 2 sides of the business. There's the distribution side and there's the investment side. And I'd start out wherever they'd have me. If I could be an assistant to whoever, and Peter Lynch at Fidelity, or Raphael Constance at Franklin, that's what I would do. Studying 65, I think we best tip studying, school, and working. Well, 65, that's going to be a juggle, Andrew, because the 65 is a serious undertaking. Have you done the SIE? I would suggest starting with the SIE. Maybe you've already done that, but I would do the SIE. That doesn't require sponsorship, and I think that would lay some base for your 65. So why did you do that? I think that's less of a thing that you can knock off. So I'd start with the SIE if you haven't done it, then move on to the 65. All right. Love it. Newest to your channel, started my SIE over a decade as a passionate retail investor. I love the idea of teaching finance. I had a guy, I was teaching a 24 class, and this guy was odd. He was, he didn't strike me as a 24. And I just thought, what is this guy doing in a 24 class? And we started chatting, and I said, okay, so what's your story? He said, Dean, I am the trustee of a pension plan, and we just made a major investment into Goldman Sachs. He said, they're using all kinds of terms that I don't understand. So I thought I'd take the 24 and at least I'd be a little more conscious of the vocabulary and the nomenclature. And I thought, Oh man, I think nobody in the class knew that this guy was, handles hundreds of billions of dollars. If you were in the 24 class, I would suggest you take the guy to lunch, right? But I do have people take the 7 or the SIE as passionate retail investors. How did you pivot to my current role? Well, I started training people years ago when I had my own broker dealer, and I would send them my reps to get trained, and they would come back and tell me what somebody told them. I go, that is so not true. So I started training my own guys, and then men and women, and then people asked me if I would train their people as well. I guess they trusted I wasn't going to try and poach them or anything. And so that's how I started what was called at the time Tinney Financial Training. And then I sold Tinney Financial Training to a company called Dearborn. Dearborn was the predecessor company to Kaplan. And then we sold, when Kaplan bought Dearborn, I kind of went and did my own thing. But I also had some broker dealers along the way. And so that's how I kind of pivoted to where I'm at. To be honest with you, this pivot, I think was just started out as something as a lark, and really has taken on kind of epic proportions. But I started the channel 5 years ago because when COVID said, I thought, man, I'm never going to get to teach a live class again, Lou. What am I going to do? So good news. This person was hating on me on social media. I said, you're so clueless. I'm already rich from my time in the securities industry. I don't need to give anybody a 5% discount or do anything I don't want to do. I got enough money working for me that I don't need to work for my money. When I started the channel, though, all I knew how to do was hit play and record. And everybody told me nobody's going to watch hour-long videos, that it's not going to work. And unbeknownst to me, Google loves Alphabet, YouTube loves them. So it started out that way. And here we are 5 years later. So crazy. The most important concept, Andrew, I'm not sure there is. I think the challenge is, Andrew, that's the problem with 65. People are incredulous when I tell them I think that's one of the hardest exams to pass. And when they're incredulous about that, they say, why? And I say, well, because unlike the 7, which has a narrative kind of thread to it, find a customer, open an account, make an investment, what happens after, the 65 is all over the place. So I don't think there's one most important topic. There's not a narrative thread to it. It's over here, then it's over there. And that's why I think I just suggested maybe the SIE is easier, because it does have a narrative thread to it. But I think that is a challenge on the 65. There is no one thing that is the most important concept. There's a lot of important concepts. And, probably not what you wanted to hear, but yeah, I started out working for a BD when I was a young man. And Jeffrey's still around. He just sent me, I guess he found me on YouTube or social media. But Jeffrey was my guy who hired me. And I was working at his broker dealer going through college. And what a learning experience, right? So there you go, right? Yeah, you gotta learn. I mean, I always think younger people, Lou, our friend Andrew, for example, right? Younger men and women. And one thing I thought I was going to be different for me is I thought that I would be a guy like get off my lawn kind of guy, like, what do you do coming to the securities? And I have been so blessed to see all the men and women that we have coming in, the human capital, the next generation in our securities industry. Some of these are second, third generation. Some are brand new. I joke, if you're poor and you deserve to be rich, the securities industry is a wonderful industry. And I've been really excited about that in terms of the men and women we have, right? But to teach something, you got to kind of know it. And sometimes I have young men and women who are too focused on the money early on. Don't get me wrong. I know you got to be able to pay your bills, but I think it's more important to be working with men and women you can learn from. I had a friend of mine and my friend's daughter, and she was asking about whether she should accept the role of administrative assistant because her friends were kind of making fun of her and that, she was going to end up being an administrative assistant. Her name is Amanda. I said, well, Amanda, it depends on who you're going to be an administrative assistant to. Jamie Dimon started out as a sales assistant to a guy named Sandy Wiles. So, I mean, this is the major guy at your firm. I said, I would take that in a heartbeat. And she goes, well, they're going to be senior vice presidents, but then I'm going to be an administrative assistant. I said, don't worry about that. Worry about the learning experience. And trust me, this guy will drop you back on the track when that relationship is over. You're going to lap these people because you're going to be, you'll know a lot more. So, I had a guy who was complaining about answering the phones all day. And I said, I know it's, hey, it's exhausting. I get it. But boy, if you're on the IRA phone for 2 weeks, you're going to be an IRA expert in 2 weeks, right? A retail broker would take him forever get that much confidence. I think you're fine, John. Past perfect has variance in your favor, at least 5 points. So I think you're going to be good shape. I like knowing you're testing, but past perfect, the variance is in your favor. They have questions that, are very difficult. That, I felt bad. I had a lady pay me for tutoring, and we were doing past perfect questions she's never going to see on her exam. I do believe that. Yep. Yeah. Math on the 65, 3-4 questions on math. And it's not the high end kind of math. It's like basic arithmetic on a balance sheet, working capital, current ratio, acid test, debt to total cap, a total return, current yield, tax equivalent yields. Not all I just mentioned, but 3 or 4 of those. On the other higher end stuff like capital asset pricing model, future value, present value, internal rates of return, it's understanding the math. The inputs and what the output and why you would use the math, not can you do the math. I had a guy at one of these live streams, and I said, listen, in my career, sometimes there was serious math to be done. And when that serious math was to be done, I would hire a guy, Lee, who's brilliant to do it for me. And he said, well, you shouldn't be in the business if you can't do your own math. I'm like, trust me, there are all kinds of men and women in our business who are very successful, who are not math people. And there are people who are serious math people that do well in our business. So to each their own. What I do say all the time is, you tell me you missed the mark because of the math, I'm going to say, I don't believe that. Yeah, 24, they'll sponsor you, go for it. You got to have sponsorship, but yeah, I like it. You can have it depends on your compliance department is, but you need to assure them that they can have a 24 that's not active. In other words, you're taking it to be, have it there, and they won't be at risk for you taking it. All right. Love it. Love it. Looks like it's time for our drawing. All right. Boom. Let's see here. Recent there, the 53. Like I say, I don't like the 53, but it is what it is. Did you change answer? Well, there's lots of practice tests on my channel you can try. I've got a Notman Marks SIE exam there. I got an STC. I got a Test Geek one. Why don't you take one of those and see how you do and see if it confirms? Did I see your last comment? I don't know if I did or not. Let's see, Puddles. I'm going back. I think I answered that. Is that your last comment? I think that's the last comment I'm showing in my little chat thing. So I think so. I got a 6. There you go. Right. When that happens, I think Evan, I talked about it earlier in the live stream. When that happens, it's usually because people have memorized the questions, answers, and haven't understood the concepts. But, well, you didn't tell me, Evan, what exam you're taking. When's your retake? I'd like some. Oh, there we go. Before the 65. Okay. So maybe we need to get you a different coach. Maybe you need to go get STC. Sometimes, having a different voice is helpful. And so I would like to know what your QBank usage rate was. And if it's, a high QBank usage rate, maybe we got to get you some more stuff. On the 17th, almost finished reading the book. I love it. So I like it. That looks good. Like it. Love it. Anything else you can do? I don't know anything else you can do. It looks like you're doing what you need to do. Make sure you take that FINRA SIE exam we talked about. Don't know if you've done that yet. I have plenty of content on the SIE, so start working your way through the SIE playlist. I have a podcast series. I have some practice tests. So I have enough content to actually pass the SIE on the channel. So go to the SIE playlist, start working your way through those. A client with an objective of capital preservation. I'm thinking government securities. I got the wrong answer wrong. I'm not sure what you mean by you got the wrong answer wrong. Usually capital preservation, safety of principle is going to be a treasury recommendation or maybe a tip, for example. That's what I'd be thinking. But send me that particular question on the practice that didn't make sense. Send those to me. I'm more than happy to go through them. When does an MBA become valuable in our industry? I don't think it's as valuable as a CFP. People don't invest with you because you have an MBA or a CFP. People invest with you because they like you and they trust you. So, I'm not sure I'd be going to get an MBA as an investment professional. I have lots of international visas. Last time I checked, our number one international market was India. And I had for a long time, I have all kinds of Brazilians who were taking their tests. So I haven't reviewed the number. Maybe next Tuesday, I'll check it out and see what it is. But it's surprisingly large. They have a thing. I haven't clicked the button, but they have a thing that I can click on YouTube that will translate all my videos into, Espanol or Mandarin. One was a money market. I like that. Can you explain how I identify something similar on the SIE? I'm not understanding, Jacob, your questions. Those were questions I got on my SIE. Turns out it was a money market fund. Well, high quality debt maturing. I didn't see your answer set, but yeah, that would be. Can you explain how to identify something similar? Well, you're looking for the pivot words: safety of principle, capital preservation. So I call those pivots. So you're looking for the phraseology that helps you process of elimination. Get rid, like if it says capital preservation, we're certainly not doing a growth stock or a growth mutual fund. And then usually you can get to a 50-50 through the pivot words and process of elimination. I don't really, Lou, I think when you're a young man or woman, I really do believe I've been blessed. I work for a guy named Mr. K. I had a mentor named Lewis. I was telling about Jeffrey reaching out to me. I really believe, and I know that, people aren't sometimes in this situation to make that trade-off. But I always think the trade-off of the people you're going to hang out with and learning, particularly early in your career, are more important than the next number of dollars, right? I mean, you got to pay your rent and be able to go have a cocktail. But I mean, I think the learning experience is way more important. STC, would you recommend STC or Kaplan? I would recommend Kaplan. Kaplan Q Bank is the best. My discount code is Guru15. You should know I receive compensation from that. It's disclosed, and I've just disclosed it to you. Fixed UIT and a company was the answer. So that was tough. Okay. All right, we're getting ready for our drawing. Your tutoring class, not sure how many should I? Well, I always tell people to just book one per V, and then we can get together. And if you don't like me and I don't like you, there's no sense booking a bunch of them. But book one. But I am pretty booked. I don't think you're going to even find a slot between now and December 19th. So what I would do is maybe go to the page and sign up for the weekly Q&A jam session. I'm not sure I have the tab there. It times out, or my office hours, and you just remind me that I said you could join that. But I don't think you're going to be able to find a tutoring session between now and your test date. Third attempt, hat trick coming up. Getting caught up on buying power. It's a waste of time to know buying power. Buying power is 2 times your SMA. It allows you to buy additional securities without a required deposit. You can use your SMA as cash. That's how much you can withdraw. I do. I have all kinds of videos. Just put SMA or buying power in the channel search bar. A lot of stuff will come up. It's a waste of your time. I also have a margin lecture called Don't Overdose on Margin. It's an hour. I have a class replay of me teaching margin. So I have lots of it. I'm not sure how much time you want to spend on it. Okay. Bullish or bearish positions on the SI exam. Well, you're not going to get a whole lot of that kind of thing on the SIE, but our basic bearish positions would be selling short the stock, which subjects you to unlimited risk, selling a naked call, which subjects you to unlimited risk. The best way to be a smart bear, don't be a dumb bear, is to buy a put. So of all the bearish things you can do, all those bearish quivers, buying a put, establishing the choice to sell is the smartest thing to do. Bullish position, we got all kinds of them. Own the stock, long a call, short a put. So I don't have any neat tricks for that. On Saturday with a 65. Well, there you go. So, just while on Saturday, while the herd is fresh, I have in the video description a podcast episode called You Failed, Is It Over? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. And it has my 5 recommendations about how to respond to that misfortune. The first is to, while the herd is fresh, do an intellectual inventory with yourself. Get the 66 test specifications or the 66 study guide and do an intellectual inventory, plus, minus, 0. Plus means you don't think that's what did you in. 0 means you're at par. Minus means things we can improve, right? So that's that first recommendation. Find that episode, and I think it'll be helpful. There you go. Now I'm on to the level 2 CFA. Woo! Love it. I love it. I feel honored and privileged that people send their people to my channel, and let them watch my videos while they're at work. And so thank you so much, Laura, for the referrals. Love it. Love it. Love it. CFA is no joke. I had somebody asking me today. Now, I think on the retail side, I had said the CFA, unless you're actually managing money backstage, portfolio manager, or something like that. On the retail side, CFP, I think, is a more useful kind of designation. But boy, the guy asked me, how does these exams compare to the CFA? I go, no comparison. The CFA is way much harder. Conversations trading on the blockchain is cryptocurrency to be more integrated. What can we expect? You do on 65, 66 get digital asset questions. And the questions are about, is it considered a security and does it need to be registered or not? But that's pretty much it. I've had some debrief that people on the blockchain ask about the finite amount of Bitcoin that can be minted. Well, people, it's kind of it's a fool's errand to be looking for test prep vendors where there's capital or anybody that are the actual exam. You need to learn the information, the knowledge. It's a fool's errand to go buy STC or Kaplan or Pass Perfect or because somebody told you, oh, their questions are just like the exam. Bullshit. That's a number one way you can fail your exam. Now, Kaplan works very, very hard. And you are going to find some Kaplan questions. You go, oh. I don't know about you. When I take a test, I like to take the first question I know the right answer to. Hopefully you're not like 30 deep. But I think Kaplan does as good a job of that as anyone. But you shouldn't be trying to mimic the content from a test prep vendor with the actual exam. You should try and own intellectually the content so that any phraseology of the question you can still perform. Right? So, sorry, but that's not my little rant. You did hear right. That's what I said. But the material isn't really sticking. Achievable scores are low. Do you think that's normal? I do. I mean, I told you it's a slog. We had a Victorious 10 taker with us tonight. We have some 65 test takers with us. Both those exams I would put in the slog category. They are slogs, right? Okay, well, that means I haven't put it up yet. So just check again tomorrow. It's the holidays. Mom's in the hospital. So you're not going to be able to book. I just told you I'm completely booked. So I appreciate you want to book, but I don't think you're going to find any slots. So Purvi, just send me an email, dean@guruexamprep.com. Tell me that there was, just tell me I need to put up a class tab for the Q&A session, right? There should be one for the office hours already up, but you can mention that and I'll put up a Q&A session. I'll put up an office hour. You're welcome to join both of those. And, other than that, I don't think you're going to be, as much as I want your $375, I just don't think there's any slots available. I'm kidding about it. I don't need your $375, but top of them up. Absolutely. Absolutely. 2 weeks ago. Woo! You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. It looks like I'm almost done here. Okay. Let's see. Let's finish this up. Well, thank you, Lou. Thank you. It's Guru 15. Well, yeah, Lou, Kaplan wanted me to help out on the videos. I go, well, you realize how stupid that is? Why would I do that? I have a YouTube channel. All right. Woohoo! I like that. Hip Hop Anonymous. I love it. I love that. That's cool. There you go. Woohoo. All right. It's time for the drawing. It looks like it's time for the drawing. Don't do anything yet because I have to do this. Let's see. Got to decide what we're going to do tonight. Let's do. Yes. No, I got a better one. Okay. B. Now, wait till I get this up here because you got to put it in exactly how I have it on this thing. So if you want to win the coaching call, well, there you go. Who was it? Erica or somebody? Who was looking for tutoring? And I told her Purvi. So maybe you will win the coaching call. There you go. And then you get, free freebie. All right. Let me go get the screen here. Share a screen. Boom. Okay, there you go. Go ahead and put that into the chat. You got to have it exactly as you see it there. Be the test. It's got to be in the chat exactly the way you see it. Be the test. Let the test come to you. Be the test. And then we'll draw. And like I said, we'll do a little drawing and see how you do. Ten entries. I apologize. I try and get us out of here on an hour, but sometimes there's more questions than. That's 11 entries. 12. Last call. Last call. $15 entries. Ready for the wheel? Going once. Going twice. It doesn't affect it, by the way, if you put it in more than once. It doesn't do that. I'm hoping for you, Pervy. I'm hoping for you. All right. Cole Krapbiziski. I apologize, Cole. You are the winner. You are the winner. So I know the Pervy is sending me an email. If there's not a class tab for coaching call winner, same thing. Send me an email, Dean at Guru Exam Prep, and I'll send it up. I'm not sure, with mom in the hospital, how far behind I am on stuff like that. So, but feel free to send me a nudge. Let me get rid of that. Boom. Put me back up there. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us. Remember, inch by inch, your exam's a cinch. Yard by yard, your exam is hard. I'll see you next Tuesday, 5 p.m. And be looking up. If you have some suggestions on book titles for the book club, let me know. And we'll try and get that up there as well. All right, everyone. Bye-bye. Oh, I forgot to say, you take the test. Don't let the test take you. That's from our friend Brian. I'm going to try and get a good week going. You didn't realize we did draws? Yeah, we do them every Tuesday. All right. See you, everybody. I'll see you next Tuesday.